Namaskar and welcome to this exclusive conversation with Honorable Home Minister P. Chidambaram. So thank you so much for talking to DD News. First things first, now this entire issue about Ramdev agitation and most particularly the recent police action at the Ram Leela ground as far as his and his supporters' eviction is concerned. Would you like to explain the situation, because that has been widely criticized by certain sections, the way it was being done?
Before we discuss the police action, we must know something about the background to the agitation of Shri Baba Ramdev. He was given permission to hold a yoga shivir, no more. And that with about 4,000 to 5,000 people. In the run-up to the yoga shivir, he made a number of statements that he would go on a fast unto death from the 4th of June. He was clearly told that he had no permission to do that. Meanwhile, government had engaged him in a series of talks. A decision was taken that if he was determined to go on a fast, he would be told that permission had been denied and he should remove himself from Delhi. That decision could have been enforced earlier. But because government was engaged in a dialogue, the enforcement of the decision was deferred. Ultimately, when talks failed or he went back on his word, the police were told to enforce the decision. They enforced the decision. Now, the manner in which they did it, etc., has been explained by the police and will be explained once again to the Supreme Court, which has issued a notice to the Commissioner of Police. So obviously I can't go into the details of what happened on the night of Saturday, Sunday, but the police have explained it and will explain it once again. But let's remember, the decision was that since he had no permission to hold a fast unto death or any other kind of demonstration, he was told to remove himself from Delhi. He defied that decision. This point has to be made. A law-abiding citizen, when told by the police that this is the order, you are being removed from Delhi, should obey the order. You can challenge it in court later, but he should obey the order. On the contrary, what you saw on the television screen was that he defied the order. He ran from his tent to the dais, did a jig, jumped into the crowd, rode on the shoulders of some of his supporters, took the microphone and addressed the people, challenged the police to come and arrest him. All that was quite visible to everyone. And so let's hope that those who criticize the police, and I've noted the criticism, will also take note of the conduct of Shri Baba Ramdev. At the same time, I want to say that I have immense sadness in my heart at the condition of Rajbala. 39 civilians were injured. All but 4 were discharged with outpatient treatment. 2 had fractures, they were set right and they have been discharged. 1 underwent surgery and I'm told he's all right. It's only Rajbala who has suffered serious injuries and she's critical. I'm very sad. We have reached out to the family. I wish to say no more at this stage, but I sincerely hope that I will have an opportunity to meet with the family members.
Post-Saturday, the developments that we have seen, and there are certain media reports about Ramdev making claims that he would conduct more such yoga shivers across the country, and he has also managed to mobilize public opinion, so to say, against government as far as anti-corruption stance is concerned.
See, it's not Shri Baba Ramdev. I think we should know who is behind Shri Baba Ramdev. We go back to March at Puttur in Karnataka. The Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, which is the apex body of the RSS, adopted a resolution to support all institutions and individuals that were ranged in the fight against corruption. On April 2nd, the RSS announced the formation of an anti-corruption front with Shri Baba Ramdev as its patron and Shri K.N. Govindacharya as its convener. On May 12, the ABVP, which is the student front organization of the RSS, floated a new organization called Youth Against Corruption and publicly declared that it will coordinate with Shri Baba Ramdev. On May 20, a circular was issued by Shri Suresh Joshi of the RSS, directing every Swayam Sevak to render all possible cooperation to Shri Baba Ramdev. On May 28, Shri Ashok Singhal of the VHP issued a similar circular. And a number of people belonging to the RSS, the ABVP, are fully and closely working with Shri Baba Ramdev. So this is not an agitation by a yoga teacher or a yoga guru. This is a political agitation which is fully backed by the RSS and its front organizations. Therefore, I'm not surprised that they have announced that the agitation will be continued. We will allow peaceful protest, but we will not allow anything that can trigger a conflagration.
It's a certain kind of trend that we have seen, the exercise of Satyagrah and the civil society coming forward and setting deadlines for important legislation, since we're talking about Ramdev and the forces behind him. So setting deadlines for legislations like black money. Do you think that has a wider impact on the constitutional scheme of things? Do you approve that kind of a civil society involvement with the domain which is under Parliament? We're talking about legislations here.
I support civil society speaking up, raising its voice, but I do not support elected representatives yielding their obligations and responsibilities to civil society representatives. Let's remember that the foundation of this country is parliamentary democracy. That's what Mahatma Gandhi fought for. That's the independence we won in 1947. And that's what is said in the Constitution that we gave to ourselves in 1950. Elected representatives at all levels, Parliament, legislature, municipalities, panchayats, for a term, renewable in a free and fair election. Government will be voted out of power. Government can be voted back to power. If civil society representatives claim that they have a power equal to or more than elected representatives, that they should have authority over all branches of the state, legislature, executive, judiciary, that's destructive of our parliamentary democracy. And therefore I welcome what other political parties have said in response to a questionnaire and a letter that the finance minister sent them, that we cannot yield our responsibilities to civil society representatives, however eminent they may be. They may give suggestions, we will take the decisions, and we will pass the legislation. That, I think, is the only correct way to function in a parliamentary democracy. And
is that something which is really happening, the kind of support that we see behind Ramdev, Baba Ramdev, the forces and his supporters, and the pan-India movement, they're coming out on streets, and the kind of media projection or the media coverage that we are seeing, looking at these days?
I think sections of the media, for reasons which I cannot spell out, are engaged in competitive populist coverage of these movements. But they must kindly keep in mind that this undermines parliamentary democracy. When someone challenges the finance minister to a debate on television, he misses the fact that debates take place in Parliament, and parliamentary debates are televised, and voters watch parliamentary debates and exercise their franchise from time to time. So I think we cannot sacrifice the larger ideals enshrined in our constitution at the altar of short-term, within quotation, 15 minutes of fame under the sun.
Having said that, there are also allegations by the opposition that there is a difference of opinion within the government, in the government, between the government and the party as far as the handling of situation is concerned. Your reactions?
Well, I've heard my friend Shri Arun Jaitley say that. Let me assure him, we do not have an Arun Jaitley, Sushma Swaraj dual act in our party or government. Nor do we have the kind of dualism that was exposed between Mr. Jaswant Singh and Mr. L.K. Advani post-Kandahar. We speak in one voice. We have a division of responsibilities, but we speak in one voice and we act together. Shri Arun Jaitley should have checked either with the finance minister or me before he made that comment.
Now, from Ramdev, let's move on to Lokpal bill now. 30th June is the deadline. How do you really look at that, especially when certain sections of civil society have aired their dissatisfaction publicly?